Welcome to Espiritu Coffee Chats, the podcast where we blend wellness, spirituality, and business to help you live with intention and balance.
We're your hosts, Valerie and Arlene, two Latina entrepreneurs here to guide and grow with you. Welcome back to another episode of Espiritu Coffee Chats. I am Valerie.
I'm Arlene.
And today we're going to get into a little bit of a heavier topic. So if you're not in the mood for it, put pause and come back to us when you have a little bit more capacity to listen to a heavy topic. Because today what we want to talk about is what it really means to be a Latina entrepreneur in the U.S. right now. Because we think that a lot of us can feel that the climate's gotten pretty heavy. There's a lot of things going on in society around the globe, especially here in the U.S. And the truth is that being Latina has never been neutral. And we both grew up in La Puente, you in a different time before me, and we have our experiences.
Yeah, predominantly brown communities.
Yeah, and
Black.
Exactly. And right now, between the DEI backlash, the immigration pressure, now being in a war that's not a war, that is a war, that maybe is not a war because they don't know what they're doing, and even larger instability beyond that globally with the other countries. There's just a lot going on, and it can feel like we're trying to build a life and a business while carrying all of this stuff in the background. So we're going to be diving into that today. So we'll start this off a little bit on a lighter note, or lighter question, I should say. So what does this moment feel like for you in your body, Arlene?
I think for me, it feels like feeling like I'm going against the grain, like I have the gas to kind of pursue forward. But then there's a part of me that's like, let me take a step back because there's so uncertainty. There's so much uncertainty in the political climate that it takes away from like, I don't know though, do I build this business and this company? But then if I build it, is it just all going to be crumbled down and taken away from me? Not in the sense like from myself, but like politically, politics and all that stuff. So there's like a little bit of like that an instability that I know is not necessarily coming from me. So it just makes me like question the momentum that I really wanted to like use this fire horse energy for.
Yes.
Of the year, right? We're in the fire horse year.
For sure. I definitely agree. I think for me, it also feels nauseating, and I can feel this like restrict, and I feel it right now. Actually, my chest feels very heavy, and I sometimes also feel it in my throat, like being a little bit constricted, fear of like speaking out about what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that too. Yeah.
So yeah, is there anything that feels different about this season than it has in previous seasons?
I think for this week was really hard because I feel like we just took leaps back 23 years ago. And I'm pretty specific with this timeline because 23 years ago, I lost my daughter. And during that week, we were, as a family, preparing to send off my husband at the time, her dad, to go to war with Iraq. And they just had bombed Iraq. And so it was like, it's the same thing again. Like, we're here again. And the same feelings of like, and if everybody remembers that war, it was like, it's just this bomb. One day you woke up and this bombing happened and you're like, wait, but I thought we settled everything with 9/11. Like, it's 2003. Like, why is this happening again? And then, so it's giving me those feelings of, plus it's already a moment of grief for me. So it's even adding more of that grief. And then I start thinking back to like what the families go through that are in the military and the heaviness of that. And, you know, my son, whose dad was in the military most of his growing up life as a child and even to a teenager, and how he didn't get to see his dad because his dad was out in Iran or Iraq and Afghanistan and all the things, right? And it's just bringing up like we got to go through this again, but it just feels so like griefy.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can explain it. Griefy.
Yeah, and I think the collective is feeling it too.
Yeah,
I think there is a collective grief going on there. I think for me, for some reason, there's the fear feels a little bit more heightened this time around.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know that it is a warranted fear, because obviously, like you said, we've been here before. The patterns are very similar. Because part of me feels that maybe this might be a heightened fear also because of social media.
That's true.
And the news. You know, a lot of what we're seeing mainstream media these days is kind of just like one story. I mean, even when we think about the White House and the media representatives that are allowed in the room are typically from one perspective, and we don't necessarily have kind of this like spectrum that goes from like, you know, I mean, politics in general, spectrum from the far left to the far right, everything in between. And we, in the past at least, had some kind of like news person there to help us kind of decipher. We could see all of these things, but now it feels like even within the media and also in social media, with a lot of tactics that are being used with like influencer campaigning and pushing those voices out, I feel like it is intentional to create heightened fear within us.
Yeah. Also to distract us from the Epstein files.
Girl, to distract us from
from all the things.
Yeah.
But also to compound on that, I think us as a community of color, we also are dealing with everything that's happening with DEI, also from ICE, and how much as a business too, when you were given grants, right, for your business because you fell under the DEI, right, that other big pockets could give to you, or even schools, like education, things like that. Like those were in place for a reason. Like I remember when in the 90s, everybody voting for these things that were supportive for us and put those things in place for communities of color. And then now they're just being ripped away. So we're dealing with that. Our companies are dealing with that. We're worried about, you know, our children getting an education and, you know, all these things. And so it's just like already having to swallow that pill and then already seeing what's going on with ICE and also feeling like, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like my ancestor DNA is like looking at that like la migra, like, right? Like there's something that's just like, oh, like I feel unsettled like every time I hear about it on the news, and I'm like, are they going to be, you know, here? And I, you know, right now I live in San Diego, but you know, just like how close will they get, and like, am I going to be ever taken away? Because that can easily happen, you know. And once you're gone. Like it's hard to get out of there.
Yeah.
So there's all these other things, and then you add now this like war that Trump calls a war and everybody else doesn't. But either way, everybody sees the writing on the wall, and I think that's what's really unfortunate for us right now. Like we're still trying to like swallow all these pills, but now we have like 10 of them in our mouth and we're choking with no water either.
Yeah.
No water.
Or they're water hoarding us.
Yeah. Unless Gavin Newsom turns on the water for us in California. Because remember last year it was the fires and Trump said that Gavin Newsom was holding the water from us.
Yeah.
Anyways, we digress.
I'm trying not to dive into that rabbit hole right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this political climate, so like running a business is one thing for sure, but then running a business as a Latina, and I think also like both you and I have kind of these cultural perspectives and focuses within our businesses to, you know, highlight our cultural backgrounds, our people, our heritage, our ancestry, and doing that today in this political climate can create a lot of pressure. And so it's pressure that is slightly different, but I feel like in our lives, especially as Latina, as entrepreneurs, we're used to pressure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What is something that you do now that like helps alleviate that pressure, or like how do you relate it to the past to keep moving forward in this climate?
I think just really having a plan. It's those good old strategies, like having your business plan, having obviously a plan for your family, like a plan of action. And for my business, I really wanted to make sure that I was strategic on the back end little stuff because the foundations could easily be ripped away from you. Or let's just say you're working towards a business loan that you were going to get. And now business loans are going to be more scrutinized, whereas before they were a little more flexible and open to the diversity card in a sense. And so now, like, who knows if we're going to be targeted in that way, you know, communities of color, right? Business of color owners, or if I said that right. But so now it's like, okay, how can I factor that maybe if I don't get this loan, let me think in other ways. How can I get crowdfunding, right? Or how can I raise money in a certain way for A, B, C, and D? And then also just being really smart about where you do invest and knowing that you can't just willy-nilly, oh, I just want to do this thing and I don't know if it's going to work out for my business. Like, I'm taking that time to be like, actually, let me really consider where I'm putting my dollars and make sure that they're going to help me grow. Similar like what you would do for your family, right? You're like, hey, we gotta save some money, so I don't probably need those Oreo cookies this week. It's the same thing with your business. So I've just been really looking at my back end and like, what are the subscriptions I need to cancel that aren't really growing any money for me? What are the things that I need to do to really solidify the foundation so that I could have the nervous system capacity to deal with whatever comes forward?
Yeah, I think in many ways that what we have experienced in the past has prepared us for this moment, although different. But I think we can use a lot of what we've done in the past to approach the situation as well. So like you said, paying attention to our back-end systems, taking a closer look at our budgeting and our finances to see, like, are these actually detrimental to our business or can we do away with them? And, you know, streamlining and really building in that efficiency. And I really like what you said about like owning our audience. And I think now in this climate, we don't know where social media is going.
True.
A lot of the media is owned by like specific people and like very few. So no matter what happens, being prepared in advance. So having your systems in place to funnel people, like if you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok, whatever platform it is, to your own, even Substack, moving people to like your newsletters, on your email, having some kind of distribution list where like, hey, these platforms have now all gone dark for whatever reason. They're off grid. We still need a way of doing business, even though Instagram's gone, it's not coming back. How do we continue going without having to start from scratch?
Yeah, and not to scare everybody, but I just read an article the other day that Russia has actually stopped any Meta. So you can't use WhatsApp, you can't use Facebook, you can't use Instagram. They blocked it. It's now a government like blocked. They're also starting to take away citizens' internet access if they feel like they're a threat to the government or whatever. So it's interesting because it's like, wow, like everybody thinks, oh, well, that's Russia, but he's friends with our president. But also, like, you never want to get into that place of naiveness. So I think even being able to diversify your social media streams and collectively, like, bringing the crumbs closer to you rather than keeping them with these businesses that don't care about you at all. But the people behind those who's watching your account, who's following you, they care about you. So trust and believe that they just need you to guide them on where to kind of keep closer connection with you. So don't be afraid to make those announcements like, hey, join my newsletter because I'm going to be sharing a little more here than I am going to be there. And just reminding them, do that like once a week. So to build that reminder to get them into your whatever land and realm that you want to get them outside of social media that you can own.
Yeah. And I think going back to like what we're seeing in more of the global realm, I also read an article and it was about Europe moving away from using Visa to using their own kind of like payment systems. And that to me, when I look at kind of the greater economic spread, it kind of signals like, okay, to me, it looks like a way of divesting from the U.S. Yeah. So if Europe and these other players like Russia are starting to kind of remove themselves from the U.S. and like things platforms, payment processing things, whatever it is that we are using so heavily here in the US, what does that mean? So in a way, they could be potentially predicting an economic collapse of the United States. And I don't want to turn this into an economics episode,
right?
Because there's quite a bit.
That's another one.
Yeah, there needs to be a whole nother episode on that. But I think just being prepared for the many different ways that we will have to adapt to the future. You know, if Europe is a market of yours, how do you service those people? If you want to expand to Europe, how do you do that in a way that works for you and your business in this climate?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because I think for many of us Latinos, Latinas in the US, this is not something that's new. It's kind of these patterns that keep happening, very cyclical kind of thing, just all with like different characters or like a slightly different facade to it.
Right.
One thing that I think is really important, especially as like Latina entrepreneurs, and we not typically, but you and I have kind of like this social justice lens in a way, if it's through health and wellness or through connecting, through coffee, we have to get in front of our people to continue spreading our message and to, you know, kind of bring them into our corner. Like we also need more people to help us bring in a new world, really, because there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of thing happening around the world geopolitically, and a lot of people, a lot of other countries divesting from the US in their own way, but there is still room for success. So we don't want to talk about this in a way that is like fear-mongering, but it is important to be aware, to pay attention to the patterns, and to continue moving forward in a way that is sustainable for the long term. Because I think about like historically, even through the recession, through the 2008 bubble, the Great Resignation, whatever that we had in 2020, that small minor dip, there are a lot of businesses that can still grow in these poor times. And when we see the US going through all of these changes, like it's very cyclical. Governments rise and they fall in cyclical patterns. It's just history. So how do we continue moving forward while not playing into our fears? And one of those many ways can be showing up online.
Yeah.
So what is one way that you show up online, either through your business to keep going in this, to keep your business going in this climate? Or does it feel different for you now than what it did before, and you have a completely different approach?
I feel like this year I already started out with wanting to be a little more vocal about being a Latina. And so now it just has a revolutionary tone to it because I feel like that's just how everything in my DNA is kind of coming up for me. And I'm not that person to sit on the sidelines and not make these assessments about what's going on in our political climate, in our country, in the country that my grandparents came to see the world in the vision of the American dream, quote unquote. And so it's like, yeah, I'm going to save that. It's not going to go to waste. I'm going to make sure that I'm still holding true to the values that my ancestors came and fought the hell to get here and stay here and really was successful. Like there's aunts and uncles and cousins and all the things that have served in the military, that have did well, that have high degrees, that have really good jobs, that contribute. And so I feel like this has gotten me into really wanting to bring more of that to social media. So I started with, trying to do a couple more posts around that, sharing in my stories. I wanted to share this book. It's called The Brown Girls with Sharp Edges and Tender Hearts. That was such a good book. And she definitely has like a revolutionary part to her too. And I kind of needed to read that book because it gave me more guts to do the also behind the scenes justice work. And so the other day I have a pitch that I'm supposed to do in 2 weeks. And I just came to the table and was like, I really want to talk about this. I am in the spiritual realm, right? And I don't see a lot of people who look like us, talk like us in that realm. And I'm always advocating that we need to be represented. Representation needs to be there. We need to be representative, not just Latinas, like just women of color in general. And no matter where I go, I'm always spreading that message behind the scenes. So even if you see me talking about it in person or on social media, I'm also talking about it in person. I'm really trying to change the people. If I'm sitting in a boardroom full of change makers, that book actually was another like powerful way of me being like, oh, I like that. Stop muting yourself or saying like, oh, I shouldn't say this and I shouldn't say that because you're in front of a room that feels intimidating. Though if you're sitting in front of people that are going to help advocate and do the things that you want to do for your business, because maybe your business is super profound and making change in its own way, it's okay to just shake them up a little bit to your reality, because sometimes their reality is not ours and they didn't grow up in the things that we grew up or had to fight and be in rooms all the time. I remember I was running across a woman who's in real estate, and she's a Black American woman, and she was telling me how she was only Black American woman that would be in those rooms sometimes, and she was feel so uncomfortable, and she didn't know that I had a history in real estate. So I was like, girl, I feel you on that. I remember being in these rooms, or all the things and how uncomfortable you feel. And so now I'm really shedding skin on that and being like, no, I fucking deserve to be here. Just like Sharon and Bob, Arlene Salcido deserves to be here too, and so does Tyrone, right? Like everybody deserves to be here. So it's like really leaning into that. And I guess my long story and answer to that question was, don't forget to use your voice. I mean, you said that earlier, like use your voice. That is the biggest asset that is going to collectively change the world, and your voice has a frequency. And so, make sure that you're still sharing as much as you can. And if it's even in writing, you do that in writing. But, you're powerful, and us as Latinas in the United States, like more of us are going to have to find our tribe and really get motivated again. I think that's why I kind of brought up that book, because it did motivate me to be like, okay, that's right. Yeah, pat myself on the shoulder. Yes, let's do this. And sometimes you're the only one patting yourself, and you need to be inspired. So read things, follow people on social media, connect with, Valerie and I, we have our Biz Bestie Mastermind group where we can talk about all these things, and we don't have to censor ourselves. So the best thing to do is also connect with other people in the community that are of color and express all this. Don't hold it in.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Don't hold it in. I'm thinking about one of the back episodes we did with Karina.
I was just going to bring her up too. Yeah, go listen to that one.
Yes, because I think she is a great example of, standing up for your beliefs and getting the call to action out there and urging people to join you. And I think that'll look different for all of us. Obviously, for Karina, she's very vocal and is really great at pulling people into the cause. And that doesn't mean that you have to be yourself. If you're someone who is like a little bit more introverted, find ways yourself to do it. But I think for a lot of us, and maybe some people will disagree, but I think especially like for Latinas, Latinos, like maybe BIPOC business owners, I almost feel that I think we just really need to step up to the plate. And I hate saying that, because as much as I want to be like, it's not our job to do this, like no one's coming to help us and they're not going to save us. Like the way that the systems are built politically, the laws, the policies do not support us. And in many ways, they have never supported us in the past. Like immigration has always been one of those things. And even at the beginning, when we were first voting Trump, there was immigration forms, and they literally did not pass it because they just wanted to continue to run on this platform of fear of immigration. So there's all of these things that we can point back to that show the systems are not built for us. But despite all of that, our ancestors, our families, our generations here in the U.S. are living proof that we can still thrive.
Right.
that we can grow, that we can excel. Because even though things look bad today, they have progressed in some way, small or big, to get us to where we are today. Like us being women in these rooms now, where in the past, our ancestors, our families, probably were not in those rooms to begin with. They had no invite. And at least now, in some ways, there are organizations and people inviting us to the table to continue pushing these causes forward. So I think as a collective, as much as we don't want to be in the fight because we're tired.
Yeah, our genes are tired. Our DNA's tired.
We got to tap into that ancestry, that warrior right. And be like, you know what, we're doing it forward. And I think business can be a way to do a lot of good and bring forth change.
Yeah, I think really just getting authentic too, with like we were talking about, Karina, your brand authenticity, really leaning in with that and not being afraid to share that, because that is what's going to make you unique. That's what's going to get people to follow you off of social media and get into your email funnel or your Substack or whatever it is, come to your community circle, your in-person business events, right? You being at the pop-up market, like they're going to be like, oh yeah, that I liked her because she's authentic. I'm going to go buy her granola because I want to see her thrive and succeed. And I want her granola in my pantry because it come from a person who has good heart, good ethics, good morals, and who cares about me just as much as I care about her. And I think if you think about it and how your authenticity really does get to the core of people wanting to support you and your business and seeing you thrive, I think like just getting into the nice nitty gritty of who you are and expressing that.
Yeah, because look, we're here to stay. Some of us might leave.
Maybe. If I have to, I will.
I mean, look, I am not one to like be a martyr, and I'm not here to tell people to like be a martyr either. Like, I think do what's best for you, for your family, whatever it is. But I think in the meantime, while we're here and while we can, I think we can definitely put up a fight. And one way I see that is through making money through business. Because when you think about a lot of these policies and laws that are in place, there's lobbies behind them and all of these big funders. So if we as a collective who have this social justice lens, who come from these backgrounds that are underserved and not cared for in many ways,
marginalized,
then, like we can do business for good. And there's even an organization here in San Diego that I think it's called Business for Good, actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And support those businesses, you know, those causes.
Yes. Align with the nonprofits that are in line with your values and your mission. Even though some of the DEI was not like fully stripped, but a lot of these big corporations, these large funders did away with DEI funding, there is still opportunity to get funding in other ways. Whether it be through grants, scholarships, or, you know, hitting the pavement and getting sales and revenue. Yeah. So I think right now, like, what is something that we can remember about ourselves, about our heritage, or something that you're using to help keep you move forward?
I think it's surrounding myself with some good old literature.
Nice.
I've been really tapping into some books around Latin American history and starting to understand like what that meant for, you know, back in the day when my grandparents and their grandparents and so on and so forth were going through these rough times too. And why did they come to the Americas? And then also just even looking at it from a lens of like, not that being naive, like it's not like we like are untouchable, like we are touchable, and just trying to like understand politics around the world as well, because then it's like I can get that bird's eye view. And I think going back to just educating yourself, and I think also being a more initiative, we're going to be coming up to midterms pretty soon. So starting to really like, before you know, you'd get your little book and you're like, okay, well, I don't know what this means and I don't know what that proposition means and who's this justice that I'm voting for or whatever. But now's the time to actually like take that super serious, because if you have a business, they're making decisions for you, for your business and for your family and for your husband, your wife, your kids, like whatever, your future in a sense. But also like those votes are actually hurting your business as well sometimes. And so not just your family, right? So I think I'm starting to really get more politically aware for my family, but also for my business, and being mindful of, hey, if there's a time where I need to flee this fucking shit, I'm going to do it. And also, but then, don't want to get too caught up in that. Then how can I really get the roots grounded here and be smart about the political decisions that are being made? And what can I do to control the best way that I can, but without overly like stressing about it. And, because we have control over what's going on in a sense, but it is really now getting into those grassroots things, those political polls and articles, and just educating yourself a little more on the entrepreneur side as a business owner.
Yeah. One thing that came to my mind is fine-tuning what kind of information you're intaking. A lot of people these days get their news from social media. It's just where we're at. It's been that way for many years now. And now on Instagram, at least, you can change your own algorithm to whatever you want. So if you need to tap out of what's going on politically here in the US, economically, whatever it is, for a short time, tap out. I get it. I don't think that it is a permanent thing to do, because Arlene said, like, either you pay attention to politics. There was a saying, either you do politics or politics does you.
Yeah.
So either way, you're affected one way or not, whether you want to get political or not. Everything is political. Our existence to the T is political. So making sure that you're aware of the information, the type of information you're consuming, how often you're consuming it, in what ways, pay attention to the moods that you're consuming it in, the environments that you're in, and take that time to take care of yourself, because like, especially for us as business owners, like if we're not okay, our businesses are not okay. And so making sure that we're aware of what's going on, that we're continuing to move forward in ways that we can, we're aligning ourselves with the communities, with other people who value the same things as we do, who are trying to push us forward as a collective. Doing that is going to be very important in these days. We don't know how long this war is going to last. Hopefully it won't be long. Hopefully it doesn't move past that. We really don't know. There's a lot of players in this game. A lot of things are changing. So just remember, like, we are here. We're here to stay. We're not going to shrink. Please don't let fear make you shrink. Yep. There's just so much. And as much as like it sucks to be in this situation, like we will get through it.
Yeah.
And whenever cycles happen, when things collapse, when things end, when they change, it always sucks. It's super shitty. Like when you are in growth, it happens in the most uncomfortable ways. It does. As an individual. So of course, as in a collective, like of course it's gonna suck naturally. Like it just is the part of the game. So, don't give in to the fear of like, oh my God, the world is ending. Like we can still move through this thing, and we can move into something that is better for all of us, that cares for all of us, that uplifts the communities that are typically marginalized. Like there is still hope, and it's important for us to not give up that hope.
And also be supportive to your other Latina entrepreneurs, your primas over there, your hermosas, your amigas, like all they're trying to do is build their business too. And so sometimes we think we're doing this alone. And so I think now more than ever is the time to connect with other entrepreneurs and really like release all this stuff. Because when you hold it in, that can cause a whole nervous system collapse, a whole health issue, and all that fun stuff, right? Well, not fun stuff, but stuff that happens because you're holding a lot in. So, really building community for yourself and support is also so, so key.
Yeah. Which I'm like, this is such a heavy topic. I don't know how to end this episode.
Well, we'll probably talk more about it. But for now, we just wanted to connect with you all about just being a Latina today in 2026 at the beginning of the year. We're now in March. So, I'm sure as the year goes on, we'll probably dive deeper into various other topics around this. But we just wanted to let you know, we see you and we feel you, and you can always come to us. If there's ever a time you want to go on a political rant, Valerie and I are here for you.
Yes.
And we are also just here to support you, in any way that we can. And I don't just say that because I know a lot of people say that. I'm a person that when I say something, I actually mean it. Otherwise, if I don't say it, it's just because I don't want to do it. So we would love to be a support for you, and connect with us on social media. You can email us and let us know your thoughts. We are always here to support and want you to feel like you're not here to go through this alone.
Yeah. Let's continue building and build together in a way that is good.
Right? Si se puede.
Yes. All right. On that note, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Espiritu Coffee Chats.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation and found a little inspiration to take with you.
If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform.
And stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more.
Until next time, keep the spirit alive and the coffee brewing. Cheers! Ow, ow, ow.